Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, welcome. Good evening to all YBs in Malaysia, Singapore, and around the world. As always, thanks so much for tuning in to our live talk this evening. Please allow me to introduce myself. My name is Michael, and we have Howard over there. Howard? Yeah.
Hello.
So we both will be your host for tonight. Okay, please allow me to introduce to our special guest. Tonight we have one very important person, or we call it special guest. Yeah, Dr. Derek. Okay, so Derek is an astronomer, and he is also an astrophotographer. He is now a lecturer in Chu Nong Kam University. Is that correct? Yep. And he's now based in west side of Bangkok. Yeah. Thanks so much, Derek, for joining us this evening. We will hear a lot from Derek later. Yeah. Okay. Tonight, our key speaker, as you guys probably aware, is Mr. Goh Bong Hiang. I'm sure many of you guys know who is this Mr. Goh. Yeah. He started to get serious in astrophotography in 2019, which about 3 years ago. So let's listen to Goh, how he developed his unique interest and how he progressed this far. Over to you, Goh.
Thank you. Can you see my screen now?
Not yet.
Can you see my screen now?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Okay.
Your presentation screen. Not yet. Start already. Okay.
Can you see the screen now?
Yeah, now coming.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Very good. Okay. Very good evening to all my friends from the Yellowboots. And thank you very much for your time this evening. I will share my journey on astrophotography with a camera. Okay, this is basically me.
Sorry to interrupt a little bit. Yeah, guys, if you guys have any questions, we have a chat function in the Google Meet. You can just drop your question over there, and Mr. Goh or Derek will pick it up, at the end of the presentation.
Okay.
Yeah, I hope that's okay. Okay, Derek. Sorry, Goh.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Briefly, I'm a chemist by qualification. And I do business for chemical, and also photography is only as a hobby. Okay, I touch on landscape, birding, and astrophotography. Now, I hope to cover as much as possible on this tonight, depending on the time available. Okay, now I will start on the sun, the sunspot, and solar eclipse. Right. Now, okay, this is basically a brief anatomy of the sun, which consists of 6 layers: the core, reactive zone, convective zone, and the 3 outer layers, which is the photosphere, chromosphere, and corona. Right. Okay, I've taken this picture middle of June of the sunspot. Right. So on that morning, I managed to capture 2 sunspots, 2833 and 2832. And then 2 days later, on the 17th, I took again, and I find that I have a colorful sunspot, some colorful one. And then on the July 2nd, I take again, the sky was clear. I have a better image of the sunspot. And this actually will show that the sunspot actually is quite big. You see, it is bigger even than our Earth, right? Okay. And this is the picture by one of our astronomer, Michael Teo in Penang. He used telescope to shoot this, and he was awarded the astronomy photo of the day by NASA. Okay, so This sunspot actually basically seen at the photosphere layer. Actually, what are the area that he can give disturbance are like solar flare and corona mass ejection. So this is the corona ejection, just like last week, right? They will report that if this corona ejection faces the Earth, right, it can come in and interfere with the Earth magnetic system and also will affect satellite or those spacecraft and also our power of transmission. And also on the July 3rd, a day before the American it was the solar flare, right, which was X1 class, right, and it caused a brief radio backup. Okay, so it could endanger astronaut and also satellite and power grid if it's directed at Earth, right? And for those moderate solar flare, it would charge the Earth atmosphere with aurora, right? Okay, this is actually the solar flare. Okay, and that's why you see most of the aurora I found in the North Pole and the South Pole, right? And they have different name, right? Northern Light and also Southern Light. Okay, now I'll show you that in the year 2016, right, I took a flight, traveled 10,000 over km, one way from KL to Ivalo in Finland with another three of my friends to hunt for Northern Light, right? And that time the temperature was about -8 to -16. And this area that we go is at the Avola is quite near to the Arctic Circle, right? Okay, and this we managed to capture the aurora. We stand at the side of the road, right? It was very cold, and actually it was very difficult to shoot the aurora because I was wearing two gloves because it's so cold, and even my this cable release also frozen, cannot use, right? So in order to shoot this, finally I had to pick up my glove, right, just to able to press on the shutter. And after I finished, I go back to the van. I remember my hand all were pain for more than half an hour. Lucky they didn't have a frostbite. Okay, and the picture you see on the right side here, the red picture is the light trail from a car that moved forward along, and then it is the rear light of the car. Okay, and this aurora we only managed to see only for 15 minutes, and after that it disappeared. Right, and then we asked the driver to bring us to another place, half an hour journey away, and we managed to find the dimming of the aurora, and that's all. Right. Now, so far for the northern light. Now I move on to solar eclipse. Right, solar eclipse happens when the moon moves in between the Earth and the Sun. Right, and of course, if you want to see solar eclipse or to take picture, you have to make sure you protect your eye, right? You might have used the solar glasses or solar shade, and also use the proper solar filter, right? And if you use DSLR, please do not look through the viewfinder. It will damage your eye, right? Look through the live views, okay? Now, there are three types of solar eclipse, basically partial, annular, and total, right? This annular eclipse I took in 2019, right? And at the maximum eclipse at 1:15, 94% of the sun was covered by the moon, right? So that's why you have this and annular solar eclipse, which lasted 3 minutes, almost 40 seconds, right? And we call it the Ring of Fire annular eclipse. And I remember at that time, many people stopped work to watch. I think our Sultan of Johor, the President of Singapore, also stopped or took leave to watch this annular solar eclipse. Okay, and I started taking it from about 1 o'clock until it ended about 2:05 p.m. The different stages, right? And you can really see that during that period, for that moment, suddenly the whole sky it turned dark, very dark. Okay, and this year, we not able to see the solar eclipse in Malaysia, but it was present in the northern part, northern part country. And those people who are in New York or New Jersey, they were able to see what they call the solar horn or the devil horn, because the sun was just rising from above the horizon, and because of the eclipse, it appeared like a horn, two horns. That's what they call the devil horn or solar eclipse. Okay, and last year in June, I took again the solar eclipse. Although it is should be an annular solar eclipse, but in Malaysia you only able to see partial. That's why you see the partial solar eclipse. Right, and again, I took from 3 o'clock until about 5 o'clock, right, to see the different stages. So if you see like here, you can see some dark cloud. Actually, there were a lot of cloud also during the period of the solar eclipse. And this is my setting to take the solar eclipse, right? You have to use as aperture of 1:16 or more, and the shutter speed also very high, 1/800. Otherwise, you find that this solar eclipse, the sun will be just white color, because too bright, right? And this was a picture I had to share with you, taken by Trevor in year 2017, that during the solar eclipse, the International Space Station was crossed or transit over the sun, right? And the speed of this space station is 90 minutes, right? They cross the sun over a period of 90 minutes. I mean, in one day, cross the sun 16 times. Okay, this one last month, taken by a NASA photographer, Mr. Joey Kowski, showing the International Space Station crossing the sun, right? And at that time, when it was taken, 2 astronauts were on the spacewalk outside the station, and there were 7 crew on board the ISS, right? I have not managed to take any total solar eclipse in Malaysia, but I'd like to share with you some of these fantastic solar eclipse taken by these experts, Mr. Amada and Edwin. The solar eclipse, total solar eclipse started from partial, move on to total, and then it go back to partial solar eclipse. All right. Now, in year 1991, there was a very long solar eclipse that lasted 6 minutes and 53 seconds. And this picture, the couple took using a telescope and also a Nikon camera. Okay, and also, as I just now, I show you the different structure, that the three outer structure of the sun. You got the corona, you have the chromosphere, and also the photosphere. Right in here, you can see the chromosphere and the corona. At this total solar eclipse of Turkey 1999, and it lasted 2 minutes and 10 seconds. And again, in 1999, you find that during the total solar eclipse, there were bits of sunlight that passed through the lunar valley, and it created effect called Bailey bead. Bailey bead. And you can also observe there are some prominent, right? Some neon pink prominent. And also diamond ring in Egypt, 2006, right? And here is a close-up of the prominent, right? Prominent, all those, the sun, just now you see in my first anatomy of the sun. And now let me move you to the moon, right? I will cover moon phase, earthshine, and lunar eclipse. Basically, the moon has 4 phases, 4 main phases. From new moon, that means no moon, you cannot see any moon in the sky, to first quarter, to full moon, last third quarter, and then back to new moon. Today, actually, we are at this layer, first quarter, right? Today, the moon is at first quarter, right? And this month we are very fortunate that normally you have only first quarter, second full moon, and third quarter. But this month we have five. We have an extra third quarter because on the first we have one, and on the 31st we have another one. That's why we have five in this month. Okay, and these are the series of sequence of moon taken at different phase. And this is also the moon when it's at the waxing crescent stage of 21%. And this is the moon that I took just now at about what time? About 6:40, something like that. The moon is whitish in color, and this is actually the first quarter moon. First quarter moon. Okay, and then after first quarter, you go to the waxing gibbous before you go to the full moon. And this is the full moon last month. We call the super moon, and the moon is called strawberry full moon. And in this picture, you're able to see three craters here: a main crater, Tycho crater, Copernicus crater, and also Kepler crater, right? And these are the information about this crater. And there are a lot of other smaller craters, but these are the three main ones. Okay, and I took this picture actually from my balcony because across the LDP on the hillside in the Country Height Damansara, there are a lot of bungalows up there. And I used to watch for the moon rising behind all these bungalows. You know, this was taken flower moon. That means in May. May May was also a super moon. May flower moon. It was coming up from the bungalow, right? And then the waning gibbous, and then this is the after the third quarter moon, and then you go to waning crescent before it come to new moon, right? And this again, I took this moon setting down on the west side. I waited for 3 nights. Every early morning I wake up and waited until this fellow ngam go into the telco tower. Some of the night this fellow was on this side, some of the night on this side, right? Okay. So for super moon, why super moon appear bigger? Because the moon is nearer to Earth, right? And it will appear 14% bigger, 30% brighter, right? And then after the new moon, normally 2-3 days before the new moon and 2-3 days after new moon, where the moon is in the what I call crescent phase, you're able to see Earth shine, right? So basically, this is actually the darkest part of the moon. But because the light from the sun that shine onto the Earth are reflected back to the moon, that's why you can see the Earth shine. Okay, these are Earth shine, right? Okay, let's move to lunar eclipse. Okay, there are basically 3 types of lunar eclipse. You have total lunar eclipse, partial, and panorama lunar eclipse. So only when the moon is in the total lunar, you can see red moon. Other than that, there won't be red moon, right? It will be gray color, only different shade. Let me share with you the 2018 total lunar eclipse, which was the century longest lunar eclipse, right? It started about 1:14 and ended about 7:25. And I was sitting alone in front of my porch of my house, waiting to take all these stages. And the total eclipse, that means the moon is in totality, lasted 1 hour 43 minutes. It started like this, and then go on to reach the maximum totality, and then it slowly moved away until it set. Okay, and it ended about 7:28. Okay, and then it set down below the tree or the forest on the west side. Okay, so this is the composite of 8 pictures to show the different stages of the eclipse. And last year there was a panorama lunar eclipse, that means belong to this stage. That means you cannot see any of this, right? So it's very hard to see the differences, right? So I took from 1 a.m. until 5 something, 5:20, so whole process, right? So basically this picture, if I show this picture, this picture, actually to a layman, very hard to see the difference because it's very slight. So to make the picture more interesting, I asked my wife to stand as the model for me so that this picture become more interesting. Otherwise, my picture will be just twin moon in the sky. Okay, and last 2 months ago, we have the total lunar eclipse in Malaysia. And again, it started from 5:45 to end at about before 9. Okay, but for those people in Malaysia, Peninsular Malaysia, we did not able to see this because why? It was raining. The whole sky was dark with cloud from that night until the next day, right? And I managed to get one of my friends who stay in Kota Kinabalu. He's able to see and capture this photo for me to share with you all. And this one is the super flower moon, super flower moon. Okay, so you notice that as the moon enter the different phase, they move from here, right, from the lighter shade to the darker shade, right. If you want to take a well exposed photo of the moon, you have to change your camera setting in order to make sure that the picture come out is well exposed. This chart is to give a guideline example that if you start shooting at 100 ISO at f11, aperture 11, and assuming that your shutter speed, you start with no eclipse at 1/250, right? As you move along the different stages, right, you have to increase your exposure time, right? You have to increase your exposure time to let's say in the partial until 125, 160, 130, and at the total eclipse to even 8 minutes or more, right? So one of the faster way is increase the ISO so that you can get the picture come up better. But you know that when you increase ISO, of course the picture become more grainy. So another solution is to keep long exposure, but because the 500 rule say that if you expose too long, you have the star trail or the moon trail, right? So in order to solve your problem, you can mount your camera on the sky tracker that will compensate for that rotation of the Earth. So you have a clear picture. I think our Dr. Derek will be able to tell you more on this tracker. Okay, this is again and the full moon, the Kuala Lumpur Twin Tower, and I took this just before midnight. Okay, and what happened during the total lunar eclipse? Is there any changes? Yes. At 1971, during the Apollo 12 landing site, when during the period of total lunar eclipse, the temperature dropped about 300 degrees within minutes. That means from 75 to -102. So the impact of total lunar eclipse on the moon, right? Okay, now I move you to Milky Way, right? This is the Milky Way which I took in Sabah, in Kudak, right? This Milky Way actually consists of billion of stars, right? Billion and billion of stars, and they are so big, 100,000 to 180,000 light years diameter, right? And this is another Milky Way, a composite of two pictures, Milky Way and also rocky seaside. Okay, this is another Milky Way taken in Pakoma when I followed Yellowboots, Michael and Howard to Indonesia for this photo trip. And again, this was taken last year when the EMCO and MCO opened up. We go to Banting Jugra Lighthouse to shoot the Milky Way. Okay, this is another one near the old bridge, right? Okay, so this is a camera setting that you try to use the biggest aperture you have, 2.8 or 1.4 or 1.8, whichever you have, wide angle length, and 10 to 20 second exposure time. And in order to make sure that your picture come out well, always follow the 500 rule, which means if your lens is 14 mm, 500 divided by 14 is 35.7. When the exposure is less than this figure, this 35 second, then you do have star trail. But if more than that, let's say you put 40-second exposure, then you have star trail forming on your image. Okay, and this is the light pillar, 2017, right? A group of photographers from Singapore witnessed this phenomena, that this is a very rare phenomena that only happened in cold country. But they were so delighted to capture this. 21st March 2017, and it lasted until the next morning, 1 a.m., right? After I saw this news broke out in the Star paper, I decided to join my friend to go to this place in the year 2018. So 2018, I went. Nothing happened. I see nothing in the black sky. Then 2019, I went again. This time I was lucky. I captured the light pillar, right? The light pillar. You know, in fact, when we reached there, I asked the guard, "Can see light pillar?" He said, "Not impossible. You're lucky. You may be able to see." Right? So we also didn't expect. But while we were shooting the Milky Way, suddenly the guide shouted, "Hey, look at the back of you." Saw light pillars. So that's how we managed to capture the light pillar. And then this is the what I call explanation of how light pillars are formed. Basically, they are from the ice crystal. They form in the cloud when it becomes upper cloud are cold, right? So the crystal formed. So when light shine on it, and you look at it, you have the formation of light pillar. And light pillar color depends on the light source. If the light source is green, you get green. If it's red, then you get red, right? Okay, then next. Okay, next, I went to hunt for comet. Right, last year March, they discovered this new comet nearby, right? And because it is only seen mainly in the northern hemisphere and very rare in southern hemisphere, but because it was said that if you miss this, you have to wait for 6,800 years before it return. So I took the challenge to go and try my luck. I said if I try cannot get, it's fine. I try my best. So I took 10 nights from Tekinchang until Port Dickson. Every night I went there, come back 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. And I was lucky that I captured it on the 10th night, the last night, in Tanjong Karang, right? Because the full few weeks, the sky was all cloudy with cloud. You cannot see anything, right? But because of my app, I use the app. I roughly can know roughly where is the position of this nearby, and they waited, and that for that few seconds when the cloud opened a little bit, we capture this nearby comet, right? Okay, very tiny, very small, right? And this is how it looks like. There's the two tail, the blue tail, and also the gas tail, right? Okay, and I think our Sifu, William Chin, took it one day earlier in Merseng. He captured nearby, and our Tamak Chong also captured on the same day in KKB, Kuala Kubu Baru dam there, right? So next, last December, 10 of us went to hunt for meteor shower, right? And we managed to capture it, the meteor shower. It was slightly green color because of the content iron nickel. And at what they call the per hour, you can see from 60 until 120 meteor per hour, right? So we captured some of the meteor. Actually, the speed of the meteor are very fast. It is 40 times faster than a bullet. than a speeding bullet. Okay, and this was the prime time at the 4:41, the optimum time according to my app, that you have 160 meteor per hour, and that is where many of us are able to capture at least 1, 2, 3, or 4 meteor. Of course, there are also some who capture none, because the meteors seem to fly out from the sky everywhere, every direction. Although there's a radiant to coming, but it comes from everywhere, and you can see it, but it's too fast. You cannot capture it on the camera. So when we are so happy that we capture one, we are so happy, right? Okay, and then at 6 p.m., 6 a.m., we went to the beach hoping to wait for sunrise, and we will be rewarded with another 2 or 3 meteor shower at the seaside. Okay. Okay, and this is my last slide. That I also captured one in Semene Dam, right? A shooting star, and I because it was in the period of end of June, I suspect it to be a meteor shower, right? So that end my talk. Now our next speaker, Dr. Derek Lim, right? Okay, this is the profile of Dr. Derek Lim, amateur astronomer and astrophotographer, and also he's an avid bird watcher and photographer, and currently he's a lecturer at the International School of Engineering, Chulalongkorn University in Thailand, with a PhD in electrical engineering. Okay, so over to you, Dr. Derek Lim.
Thanks, Goh. Thanks very much. Yeah. Okay, let's listen to Dr. Derek. Yep, Dr. Derek.
Okay. Thank you very much. Can you all hear me? Okay.
Yep. All loud and clear. Loud and clear.
Yeah. What a wonderful presentation, Mr. Goh.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I did enjoy the photos of the sun and the aurora, especially because, to be honest, yeah, the pretty aurora like that with the green color I've not taken before, so, and to travel so far to go and capture it, I think it must be a very wonderful experience. Yeah. One of the suggestion I can give to all the members, for planning astrophotography is to use an app. It's called Photo Pills, or there are a bunch of apps. There is Photo Pills. There's also the Photographer's Ephemeris, TPE, and there's also Plan It Pro. Okay, I'll share it in the chat. There's a question in the chat, by the way, about the moon settings. I think we'll answer it later. Photo Pills. Yeah, and okay, and TPE. Okay. So I think I'll do my presentation, and then after that we'll continue with yeah,
Q&A. Yeah.
So,
yes, please.
Yes, okay. Please. So I'll let me share my. Let me share my. Okay. So, can you see my screen? Okay.
Yep, it's coming up. Oh, good.
Okay. Okay. So, first of all, I'd like to thank you very much for inviting me to give this talk. It's indeed an honor to be here to share some of my astrophotography knowledge, as well as learn from everyone here as well, including Mr. Goh's very interesting presentation. So without further ado, I'll start. So I'm Dr. Derek Lim, but just call me Derek. I don't really care too much about the formalities. I usually share my photos on Facebook and Flickr under the name Chasing Nature's Light. So if you're interested, please check it out. Thank you. And so a little bit about myself in terms of astronomy. I've been doing it since about 10 years old. I was interested, and 14 years old I used a binocular to scan the sky and learn the constellations. And I was using my eyes to look at the stars for more than 20 years before I decided that, you know, I'll pick up a camera and actually take a photo. And what I really like to present in my photos is a feeling of this sense of awe, like how big the sky is and how small we are compared to the whole universe, in the whole universe. So I think that most of you have some basic knowledge about astrophotography, star photography. Okay, so and I'm no different. You know, I use a DSLR or mirrorless camera, ultra-wide zoom lens, a mid-range telephoto. I have a 300mm lens which I use on occasion. Okay, mostly with a star tracker on a tripod, of course. And the tripod, ideally, don't save money on it. Buy a sturdy tripod that is very stable, so that everything is like steady and the wind won't affect your setup. Okay. So what types of astrophotography do I like to do? So I think that what Mr. Goh shared earlier is another set of star photography, astrophotography that I have done and also enjoy doing as well. In this presentation, I will share more towards the stars. Okay, so I think that everyone, most of you are familiar with the single-shot astrophotography, okay, the 500 rule that Mr. Goh mentioned. So I did put quotation marks around the word rule, mainly because it's more like a guideline, okay? So there's sometimes that you can actually break the rule, and sometimes even 500 rule doesn't work for you know, if you have a very high megapixel camera, zoom in all the way, even though you use the 500 rule, you still see a star trail. So there's reason for it, and we can talk about it in more detail in the future. Okay, but basically, the single-shot astrophotography, you just go with the 500 rule, and then you edit your photos in Lightroom or Photoshop. In this case here, this photo I have is actually not just a single shot, it's actually two shots focus stacked. So one shot is focused on the little firefly in the foreground, and then the other shot is the Milky Way in the background. And then I blend it in Photoshop. Okay, so beyond the single shot astrophoto, no kidding, multi-shot. Okay, so I think that for multi-shot astrophotography, it's simple. It's just do what you did for the single shot, but take like take several shots, okay? 3 to 7 shots. I described that in this next slide right here. 3 to 7 shots of the same scene. And then there are a couple of software that I know of, okay? There might be one more, I forgot. But if you're using Windows, Sequator is the program you can use. And then if you're using the Mac, you can use Starry Landscape Stacker. Well, of course, I put that $ behind Starry Landscape Stacker is that you got to spend money for it. So if you own a Mac, unfortunately, we have to buy the app, or you can run Windows and on your Mac and then run Sequator. Okay. Now, maybe some people say, so complicated lah. Let me demonstrate a video really quickly. Just to see. Okay, so you select the photos, and then this is a raw processing. This is Starry Landscape Stacker. Okay, it reads the photos, process the raw. Okay, and it's sped up 3 times. Okay, and then I enter the focal length. Okay, and then what I do is I just highlight the sky. So highlight the sky. So with the red dots, and it creates a mask. Finds the sky. I kind of refine the mask, make sure that the mask is really the sky, and then I just click align and composite. And they have some composition algorithms to minimize the noise, but that's it. You know, you save the image and then you're done. Okay, it's sped up like 3x. So 3 times slower, which is about 5 minutes. So it's not that bad, I think. Okay. Next level up is a panorama and multi-panels, which is like multiple levels. So the real master in this is actually Mr. Samex Chong. Okay, maybe some of you know him. So for me, I'm a bit too lazy to do this, but sometimes I just do it for fun. Okay, so what you do is you take photos, okay, frame by frame, okay, and then make sure that you have about 50% overlap between the frames, okay, and then if you just do one row, okay, it's, you know, like sometimes you have a very wide angle lens, you just need to do one row and then that's it, you're done. But in here, I used a 24 millimeter, so I scanned the row at the bottom here, and then I move up one row up a bit. I make sure that in this second row here, I still can see the horizon. Okay, I didn't want square space, but it's implied there. Okay, and then I go up to the top grade. So there's 3 rows here with 5 images, so 15 images total. Okay. Yeah, I think there's some background noises. Yeah. Okay. So things
How can you mute your speaker?
Okay, I'll continue. Okay.
Okay.
So the multi-panel is kind of complicated. Actually, the previous photo, for every frame, I actually took 3 photos as well, and then stacked them using the Starry Landscape Stacker. So I Starry Landscape stacked the 5 photos at the bottom. Next row also another stack them, and then the top stack again, and then I combined the whole thing into a panorama. Forgot to mention using software. Lightroom can do it. There's another software called PT GUI. I can share it later in the chat. So those are softwares that can assemble the panorama. Okay, but we can come back to simplicity. I think sometimes the panorama is like for people who really appreciate the fine details and everything. For me, I like to keep things simple. Like, for example, one night I went to this is a lake nearby where I stay in Thailand, and the lake was there was no wind, and I decided to take star trails, and it came out so much nicer than I had imagined. And for star trails, you can just take all these photos. Like I think there are about I forgot, probably 70 photos in this star trail. I can't really remember. Apologize. And then use Adobe Photoshop and do a lighten kind of stack. Of course, you have to align them. You have to align the horizon. Okay, and then the stars itself will automatically stack. But then you might get stars that are dots, and then you have to find a way to kind of like fill in the dots. Or you can use custom apps. So I only know the custom app for the Mac. It's called Star Stacks. Okay, and you'll fill in the lines. So that's kind of how to get this. But in the meantime, even though, you know, we take the star trail and, you know, you think, only star trail, nothing else. So actually, you know, if you take individual photos, you can create a time lapse as well. So this was truly a magical night. You can see the reflection so clearly in the lake. And after that, my lens got fogged up. There's a huge fog that came over the lake. And so you can see the lens fogged up. Okay. And you can also do the multi-shot astro photo. You can take a few of the frames and stack them, right? I did this using Starry Landscape Stacker, and I kind of get a pretty nice scene of that night. So that's kind of what you could do. Okay, so kind of like one shot kill all. So you just take a time lapse And then you can do star trail, you can do a multi-shot panel, and the time lapse, of course. Okay, so the next thing I like to talk about is star trackers for star photography. Okay, and let me explain a bit about star trackers. Okay, I'm gonna exit my presentation screen because when I turn into a presentation screen, I cannot see the cursor. But I would like to draw your attention to the cursor. Okay, I'm gonna play this video, but I want you to see where my cursor points. Okay, it's gonna point. Yeah, I'm gonna point down, right about down here. There's this star right here. Okay, notice that the whole sky is rotating around this star. Okay, it's all. So I'm leaving my cursor right there. After the sun sets, you see that the cursor is still pointed at that star. Okay, and this star is almost like something like the center of rotation for the sky. Okay, so that's kind of okay, I have the cursor now. Okay, let's watch it again. So it's kind of almost like the center, is very close to the center of rotation of the sky. So and there's a good reason, because the Earth rotates around its axis, and then the North Pole points towards this point. Okay, and we call this point the North Celestial Pole. So all the stars kind of go around it. If you went to, like Mr. Goh, when he went to observe the auroras, you might have noticed that the North Star is like really high in the sky. Actually, the angle of the North Star above the North Point is the latitude of your location. So, or approximately the latitude, okay? So all the stars go around it. So that's why you see the star trail, that is a circle, yeah, that goes around the North Star, or the North Celestial Pole, okay, Polaris. So if you went on a trip to the Southern Hemisphere, you have the South Celestial Pole. So if you went to parts of Indonesia, Australia, New Zealand, South America, or parts of Africa, okay, it goes around a different star. Okay, Sigma Octantis is what it's called, but yeah. All right. So what happens if we take a motor that's kind of spinning, okay, and then we set the spinning speed to the same rate as the Earth's rotation, which is 360 degrees per 24 hours, or actually about 15 degrees every 1 hour, or 1 degree every 4 minutes. We have this motor aligned to the rotation of the Earth, so the axis points to the North Celestial Pole, let's say in Malaysia. Then that machine will track the star. Okay, so now you can go home and build your own star tracker. So, but once you get that, okay, you can take photos using a star tracker. Now, but polar alignment can be a challenge because sometimes you cannot see the North Star. All right, so I use this particular star tracker. Okay, I'm not affiliated with Vixen whatsoever, nothing. I just love to use this device. Okay, what I did was I have this polar meter. Basically, it has a latitude scale, a bubble level, and a compass. Okay, so you align the compass to north, level the bubble. Okay, I'll show you how quickly I can do a polar alignment. This is a lousy video. The audio sucks.
Within 30 seconds. I have here a polar meter mounted atop Vixen Polari U. This polar meter can be mounted on the Vixen Polari as well.
So this is the Vixen Polari.
The Vixen Polari U is sitting on top of the ball head.
There's a ball head down here.
You can use a level head as well.
You can use a level head.
The ball head.
So I'm polar aligning right now, just leveling it and then aiming the compass to north, level it. Okay, and I'm done.
So
like 5
that's
seconds.
how quickly the polar meter
5 to
can
10
help
seconds.
us align. All you have to do is utilize the compass on top and bubble level. Make sure you set the latitude.
Yeah, so I have a latitude scale. I'm going to show the latitude scale really quickly here in the video. So you just set it.
This is the polar meter right here.
That's
the latitude indicator.
Yeah, so there's a latitude indicator there, and I was aiming at 12.5 degrees for central Thailand, where I was when I took this video. Okay, so and these are the results you can expect, sort of. Okay, if you get a good alignment, you did it very accurate. The Tarantula Nebula on the left side here, I lost my cursor now. I don't know where did it go. And then the Seven Sisters, the Pleiades, and then the Lagoon Nebula on the lower right. Okay, These are just some of the examples. There are tons. I took even galaxies in the sky using this alignment method. There's also a polar scope in some star trackers. I think Mr. Goh, your star tracker has this polar scope. Or if you don't want to use the polar scope, you can buy this thing called the QHY Pole Master. And it's actually like a built-in camera that can take a photo of the North Sky, and then it can detect where your North Celestial Pole is. I haven't used it, but I heard a lot of good things about it. So I just share it here. Okay. Also a star tracker, typically, if you want to get one, I would strongly recommend getting one with this that has this feature called 0.5x mode. So if you polar align it, so let's say you use the Vixen Polari or the Vixen Polari U, okay? You polar align it, and then now you use this 0.5x mode. You can actually sort of extend this 500 rule by 1.5 times. So originally, if you're using like a 15 millimeter lens, which nets you approximately 30 seconds, okay, you can extend it to 45 seconds. So 30 plus 15 seconds, so 45. So you can actually take a longer exposure of the sky, get better signal versus your noise. Of course, your foreground will be slightly blurred, but as in this photo right here, you can hardly tell that the foreground is blurred, right? So it's a very useful mode in the star tracker. Okay, now we can combine the two concepts. Okay, a mosaic panorama of objects in the sky or constellations on the star tracker. Okay, and you do same principle, 50% overlap between the photos. Okay, and then you find things to photograph. So I apologize for the slightly blatant self-advertisement here, but it's a proud moment for Malaysia. I think 2018 March. In January I took this actually, and I just take a picture of Orion. Okay, the constellation Orion. So you see the 3 stars in the middle, and then the two. Let me exit out too. So 3 stars in the middle, 3 stars of Orion, and the 4 stars that surround it. So this is the constellation Orion with the I think Theta Orionis nebula and the Barnard's Loop Orion Nebula here. So I just took it. It was almost getting cloudy, and then I got the results. Pretty happy. I sent it. Try lah. Okay, astronomy picture of the day, March 21st, 2018. So happy. Okay, so it was a great honor, and basically here I break it down for you to see like how the. Sorry, let me exit the full screen again because I don't have the cursor. So you can see the 3 stars here. This is how I lined one of the frames, the other frame on the top, and then the top part of Orion here, the 3 stars again, and then the bottom part of Orion, the 3 stars. So actually just 4 frames combined into this panorama. I think that each frame had 10 images. I think 10 images stacked. So 10 images stacked, 10 images stacked, 10 images stacked, 10 images stacked. Each image I believe is 30 seconds because I used a modified Sony A7S for this. Okay, on the 85, actually I think, let's see, Canon 85 millimeter f1.8 cheap lens. Okay, it was so surprising how little investment I used for this. Okay, the Star Adventurer, which is similar to what Mr. Goh had, and the result came out. So we don't need to really invest in like expensive equipment, okay, in order to get decent images. So I think that as we kind of wrap this thing up, get to the end, we want to just really come back to one question. Okay, why do we do astrophotography? Okay, what is it that and I think this is the most important secret ingredient to getting the best photos. Okay, and that is there's a passion and a love for the night sky or for the stars. Okay, you tell a story with your images. Okay, so it's meaningful astronomically, but actually even just like it doesn't have to be just astronomical. It could be personal. You know, I love the stars. You know, I'm standing under a star with my hands out. Okay, you love it, and then you know, you take a photo. Okay, non-cliche, be ourselves. Okay, just you know, being our own imagination. What picture I like to imagine with the stars. Okay, and then the other thing is the night sky is not defined only by the galactic core of the Milky Way. So everyone takes that core of the Milky Way and so happy, you know. There's beyond that, there's a lot more. Like in this image right here, we have the constellation Orion setting over the lake. Okay, it was the same night as my time lapse, but I took a different composition with a 24 millimeter. Actually, I think this is a 15 millimeter. Yeah, 15 millimeter Venus optics. So with that, let me conclude my presentation. Okay. No matter what astrophotos we strive to take, okay, let us remember to leave a beautiful night sky that we enjoy to our future generations. So with that, thank you for your attention for this presentation. This is where I end it. Thank you.
Thank you, David.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm sure that, you know, we have quite a number of questions in the chat box that the member would like to find out a little bit more from you guys, from the two masters. Yeah. Howard, would you like to bring up the questions?
Yeah, from Kwan. How to shoot a circular star trail and how to find the shooting angle. Derek?
Oh, okay. for me, okay, I have an embarrassing answer that I have to admit. I never actually set a specific setting. You know, usually what I do, I take telephoto, aim, and then depending. So if you want to capture the earthshine that Mr. Goh mentioned earlier, what I do is I just try to get the auto exposure on the darker side, and then I adjust the plus or minus on the exposure compensation. Okay, just try to get the right brightness. Try to reduce my ISO. Normally, I would have it on a tripod. If I'm feeling serious that day, I'll put a star tracker. Okay, but usually I think that a tripod, I remember that a tripod is more than enough. You can overexpose the bright part and then you can get the earth shine. But if you want to take the bright part, let's say it's the full moon or part of the moon, you know, like gibbous phase or waxing crescent or waning crescent, whatever, any phase, and you see the craters. For me, I just basically do the camera auto exposure setting on the bright part. Okay, and then counting.
Okay.
Yeah.
So hope Kwan, you get the answer. Some more? Any other question? Or the member from the member?
Oh, there's also the circular star trail question, right?
Yes.
For the circular star trail, so remember that video I showed you about the star spinning around the North Celestial Pole? That was actually from Thailand. Okay, so the further north you go, the higher that North Celestial Pole get from the horizon, because it is the height of the North Celestial Pole from the northern point of the horizon is our latitude. So in Kuala Lumpur, the latitude is 3 degrees. So, you know, 3 degrees is, you know, you outstretch your hand and then put one, I think, 2 finger widths above the horizon. So it's very low. Okay, very, very low. Hardly idea to take the circular star trail here. So the only way you can take circular star trail is either go way north or way south. Okay, meaning that you have to travel to I think probably latitude 30 degrees. Then Polaris or the North Celestial Pole will be 30 degrees above the horizon. Then you get like kind of some circling of the stars. Okay, now if you went up even further north, go to take the photo of the aurora like Mr. Goh did. Okay, maybe went to where did you go again, Mr. Goh?
Ivalo, the northern tip of Finland, near to the Arctic Circle.
Finland. Yeah. Oh, Arctic Circle. So 66 degrees, huh? Almost 66.5 degree north. So yeah, that the North Star will be very high up. So you just aim and then, yeah.
So Malaysia will get half of the circle lah.
Yes.
Half the
Yes.
full circle. Yes.
So those pictures, if we see a full circle, that means that they are all typography then.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, the small circle, like in Penang, is 5 degrees, so you might get a tiny circle. Yeah, but if you see a big circle, no, not Malaysia.
It's definitely typography. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, it's called typography. Okay.
Yeah.
I think if you go, to Mount Bromo, I think you can have a better circle star trail.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I've seen.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
It's in the southern sky, and it's still not too much above the. It's not going to be a full circle, but
Yes. It's, partially.
partially. Yeah.
Partial.
Yeah, but Bromo is such a nice place. I saw your photo there, Mr. Goh.
Yeah, thank you. I think Mr. Kwan asked one question about how to take the moon picture, right? The setting. All right, Mr. Kwan?
Oh, on the top.
Okay. Okay, I think I took first quarter moon just now, and my setting was, because I used a 200-500 length, and my maximum f number is 5.6, right? f5.6. So what I did is I add a two-time teleconverter, right? So it often become the best I can get is f11, right? f11. So I use f11. ISO 100, and the shutter speed I use 1/80 of a second, right? And I was shooting at about 1,500 mm equivalent focal length. Okay, so that was the setting of my moon image just now, right? Normally for my moon, I will always keep my ISO low. Sometimes I go until 64, ISO 64, or maximum 100. So in order to get a better exposed picture, normally I increase my exposure time. So sometimes I can go down to 1:60, 1:50 to get the right exposure. So hope that answers your question on the moon camera setting. Right.
Okay. Michael?
Anyone else got questions? Okay, Dr. Derek or Goh.
Got a question, so Michael.
Yes. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, Mr. Goh, just now you said that with the 500s and then with the teleconverter, two-time teleconverter, and you're using shutter speed of 1/80.
I use 1/80.
Yeah, I mean, I realized that when we use a teleconverter lens to shoot the moon, actually you will find that the moon actually move pretty fast. So actually 1/80, are you able to get sharp images?
Yes.
Is it with the tracker or without a tracker?
Without tracker. I didn't on the tracker because I thought if we cannot, then I will on my tracker. But I managed to get it without the tracker because just now with 6 something is still bright, So I able to get it. But only thing the thing is at f11 there's no way I can focus it automatically. I have to manually adjust to get the focus. Well, it's very tough for f11.
Okay, yeah, because when I try to take, but it's at a later hour, I find that it is very challenging to get at a lower shutter speed. Normally, have to be above like 1/250.
If you think about the 500 rule, rule. So 500 divided by 1,500 is 1/3 of a second, right?
Mm.
So anything beyond 1/3 of a second is okay. Like anything with, yeah. So should be, that's kind of how we can use the 500 rule as well.
Okay, maybe it's affected by the wind then. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Or the non-so steady tripod, maybe. Okay.
Yeah,
I have a quick question to you guys. Yeah.
There is a Leo photo, same as yours, Michael.
Okay. I have a quick question to you guys. Yeah. When it comes to Milky Way, yeah, many school of thoughts. I mean, I've seen that photos that people actually process it a little bit purple. Some of them process it a little bit blue, and some of them process it a little bit pink. Actually, what is the right color temperature for Milky Way? Or how you guys actually do the white balance?
So, Mr. Goh, you want to answer first, or?
Okay. I know it's a tricky question. Okay. I'm sure you guys know how to. Yeah.
Okay, for me, the Milky Way, normally I use daylight to shoot. Daylight. Use daylight, and then in the processing, I will try to adjust towards on the bluer side, the lower Kelvin area to create the color. Otherwise, sometimes the color is not, the contrast is not so good, not contrast. So normally I will play with shadow and highlight to make the contrast come out better.
So daylight, the reason why daylight, because the sun is actually quite an ordinary star. It's like most stars are like the sun, same color. So if you set daylight, white balance, it's the Milky Way, most of the stars are the same color as the sun. So daylight, white balance is the reason why it's the best choice, actually. Now, I personally, the way I adjust my images, yeah, sometimes blue has the mood, a bit purple, but what I usually end up doing is I try to make my sky black. So one trick that, if you look at the videos tutorial by Lonely Speck, okay, I type it. Okay, one trick he does is he pull up the saturation and the vibrance up to 100%. And then he look at the image. And then he adjusts the white balance and the tint so that the colors are even. You look at the histogram, mostly the colors would all overlap like red, green, and blue, unless you are taking something specifically very blue or something like that, then you might have to think of some other way. Okay, maybe mask out the other region. But yeah, basically you max out the vibrance and the saturation, balance the color, and then once you're done balancing, you just push back the white balance and vibrance back to 0, and then that should be okay. So that's his trick, all right. And then after that, he add just final touches, like, okay, maybe he makes it a bit bluer, a bit yellower or something. And what I find a very useful tool right now, if anyone using Lightroom, they have what is it called? The color, I forgot what's it called. Let me check really quickly. It's called the color grading. So is this circles?
Yep.
Yeah, the color grading tool that has the circles for the highlight, for the midtones and the shadows. Yeah, I find that so good to use to kind of balance out the end colors. Yeah, but ultimately, I think that people that do a blue color sky, you open up. Me, I don't really care. I think it's art, but then there'll be people that are, who believe the night sky is a certain color and they will criticize. So, okay, let's just put it that way. Yeah.
So, yeah, I have
so what exactly? Yeah, what exactly the color of this Milky Way? I think Kwan is also eager to find out. What exactly the?
It should be whitish yellow. Whitish
yellow.
Yeah. Let me share my screen again. Let me find a good one. Let me share. Let me find a good photo to kind of illustrate. Maybe. So, oops. Where is it? Okay. So, let me go to my presentation. This is almost about the right color here. White, yellowish. Okay. The Milky Way is, of course, our galaxy, and then so the bottom part right here, why is it a bit reddish, dark yellowish, orangish? Is because there's a lot of dust near the horizon, so it kind of like cut away the blue. But so I would like you all to focus more on the top part here. You see this part? This is almost the core of the Milky Way. This is like whitish, almost whitish. And the stars near the center core of the Milky Way galaxy are older stars. So they tend towards being more yellowish, orangish, and reddish. So I think about this color is about, what we say the right color. But again, it, in my view, okay, it really depends on what your goal is, right? Like if you want to create an artwork, okay, like when he painted his stars or something. I remember the painting, the sky was blue, was it? Or I cannot remember. So Vincent van Gogh's photo of the stars, with the very interesting circular patterns around the star. His artwork, it is artwork, and so sorry, I cannot remember what this color of the sky is. But again, it's to taste. Go also check out this guy, this gentleman, Yuri Beletsky. Right, his photos are all bluish, purplish, a bit more. But he's one of the top astrophotographers in the world. So I mean, I think as long as it's tasteful, you like it.
I see. Oh, there's no right and wrong when it comes to color in that case.
It's art, right? Yeah, you can be scientific. Okay, you can be scientific. If you want to be scientific, then you can be scientific. You say that, okay, it's kind of whitish yellow. Okay,
whitish yellow,
like I showed just now in the photo, and I'll be happy to share my slides with you all. But I don't know whether videos I can embed or not. But yeah, I can share the slides and everyone can have a look. Yeah, but ultimately, I've never really, it really depends on the scene, the mood you want to convey, and everything.
You get the question, guys? Sometimes, people are saying that this is the head of the Milky. Sometimes people are saying that this is the tail of the Milky. Actually, how you guys differentiate the head and the tail? And what is exactly the head or what is exactly the tail? I mean, the core, we all know what's the core.
Yes. Yeah, no heads, no tails. Basically, just imagine the Milky Way galaxy as a plate, okay? Your plate of, I don't know, like a fried egg, the bao tan. Is it? Yeah, so the egg yolk in the middle.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, bao tan, yeah. And then we are kind of like outside the center, kind of maybe about, I can't remember how many % of the way to the edge, but inside the egg. Then now you go into the egg, and then you look, you see the egg around you, right? And then there's the yolk. So the yolk is the core. Then the egg around you. Yeah. So that's the Milky Way. Okay. And then as the Earth goes around the sun, okay, we'll see different parts of it, because you imagine the sun is a star inside this egg, which is called the Milky Way. And then as the Earth goes around the sun, we can see different part of the egg, right? So at some time, like in December, November, December, we circle around, the sun is here, and then we are kind of over here, and then the Milky Way is in front, right? So the sun is blocking the Milky Way, sun is blocking the egg yolk, right? So you cannot see it. And then when we come out, okay, then the Milky Way come out, okay, so people say Milky Way season starts. Yeah, that's kind of what it is. And we circle around, see maximum around June, and then, less and less again.
Beautiful. Yeah, the analogy of the Hao Bao Dan is actually very relevant in this case. Yeah, yeah, I agree with you. There's no head, no tail, isn't it? But there's a lot of photographer will think that, oh, this is the head of the Milky, this is the tail of the Milky.
Yeah,
anyway,
it's a problem.
Okay, I think there's a question from Lim Chin Tong. Is the Milky Way straight or curved? Like some shot we see. Yeah. Okay. Good question. Yeah. Yeah.
So, in the reality, okay, we are. This is a hard question. This hard answer. The reality is it's supposed to be
very
straight.
hard. Yeah.
Reality is supposed to be straight, but the reason why we see it's curved is because when we take photos, so let's say that you take a panorama, like vertical panorama, and then you see the rainbow Milky Way is curved. Why is it curved? Because when we look at the sky, okay, we cannot, the sky already looks like half, we're inside the ball, okay, there's a ball, and then we're inside the ball, and then the inside surface of the ball is the sky. We project the sky onto this inside surface of the ball, okay? So now you put it on a photo, what you do is like you kind of cut the ball in half, you take that half circle and then smack it flat on the screen, right? So any straight line on this ball, when you smack it flat on the screen, will it be straight? No, it'll be curved. It's always curved. Another thing is you can also compare to the map of the Earth, right? Map of the world. The map of the world is never like accurate, right? The size of the United States, I remember was, I can't remember. There's some comparison, but the size when you see in the map, or even you use the Google map, zoom out all the way, you see on top, you see the Antarctica is like huge, very long, it's stretched out. But it's not true, because you have to still wrap that whole square rectangle image into a ball, right? Onto the surface of a ball. And then you try to do that, we take a piece of paper cut out and then you try to put on the ball, you have overlap. So clearly there's something that is, you have to bend. You actually cannot use a piece of paper. That paper must be elastic, and then you have to bend. You can bend it, bend, and then some part you squeeze, some part you stretch, and then fit it. So now when you imagine that with the sky, the Milky Way originally is supposed to be straight, okay? But then because we see it in the half circle, it'll bend, it'll look bended, it'll look curved. So no matter what photo you take, so if you took a short panorama, like when the Milky Way is like overhead, like that, then you take a panorama like that, oh yeah, it looks straight, yeah. But then now when it's just rising, because it's inside this ball, right? It look like a rainbow. So it is almost like it's a geometry problem. It's a very, very good question. It's a geometry problem. And I think that's the best I can answer. Yeah, and like fish islands. Yes, that's right. A similar distortion to fish islands. Yeah, yeah. So that's a good analogy.
Okay.
Great answer.
Thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Any more questions, Chin Tong? Does that answer your question?
Yeah, very much. Thank you.
Yeah.
Great answer.
Thank you.
One has question. Is it possible to get big rounded sharp moon with sharp foreground? Is it need to shoot from very far distance?
Very good question.
I'll let Mr. Goh answer this. He's done it before.
The big sharp moon
with sharp background, Foreground, sorry.
Okay. Normally, if you say that if you want to capture a moon, like appear to be very big, we normally use very long telephoto lens, right? So that you can make the moon appear big, right? Okay. Now, the distance of the moon, is at least 300 to 400,000 km away from Earth, right? And if you take a foreground, let's say the bungalow, example, the picture that I took, the bungalow is only about 2 km away from me. So if there's no way you can capture a moon that sharp at the same time, the bungalow also sharp, impossible, right? If you get a moon sharp, your foreground or the what they call the bungalow will not be sharp, right? But then you able to see why some people want everything sharp. Moon also sharp. The bungalow also sharp. How? Okay. One way is you can improve by using smaller aperture. Smaller aperture. Let's say if you shoot f56 and f5.6 and f20, of course the f20 with a longer depth of field will give you a clearer foreground as well as the moon, right? But for those, if you're talking about I want a clear foreground, a sharp foreground at the same time, and a sharp moon, then you have to do a composite. Most people will do a composite. You take one exposure for the foreground and you take another exposure for the moon, and then you post-processing, you blend it into one composite picture. Then you have both sharp. Just like you sometimes you see some people take picture, wow, Milky Way, beautiful sharp, and then the group of people photographer in front also very sharp. How to do? Impossible. When you shoot the Milky Way, it's so dark, right? Long exposure. How can you have the group of photographers in front also still well exposed? Impossible, right? So again, you take two exposure and then you blend it in post processing. That's why sometimes some people see. Okay, that's why sometimes
some people. Question. You go ahead first. Yeah, later I'll ask you a question. You go ahead.
Go continue.
Yeah. Okay, so just now you look at some of my picture, especially you see the moon coming up from behind the bungalow, right? Wow, people say, "Oh, go, you Photoshop one, Where I got the moon so big one? Right? Impossible. The moon I take so small. How come your moon so big one? You Photoshop?" I say no, not Photoshop. I use longer telephoto lens, then I can make the moon appear big in respect to the foreground, right? Okay, so it's not Photoshop. I think there's another question just now from I think if I'm not mistaken from Canopy, right? I think Canopy Wong mentioned about, do we use the same camera setting to shoot moon in daylight and nighttime? Of course, not the same, right? Of course, because if you in the daylight, shoot the moon, let's say you shoot about just now 6 o'clock, right? It is still bright. Okay, so I can use lower ISO, right? But if I shoot the moon at about 9, 10 o'clock, which is dark, right? I may not able to use my ISO 64. I may have to increase to ISO 100 or ISO 200 or 300 in order to compensate back to get a exposed moon. Or I have to increase my exposure time, the shutter speed, put a longer exposure time for the moon that I take when it's in dark compared with this daylight. So it's not the same, but actually all the things you can play with it, you can just get a simple setting. Let's say moon normally I used to start at about f8, right? And then I put an ISO 100, and then I play with the shutter speed to see how I can get a clear picture. If I cannot get a clear picture or there's an element of the trail coming in, then I increase the ISO, right? Unless you have tracker, then you can play with the tracker, and then you can put longer exposure time. Okay, hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I ever asked by by some photographer before. We were told to shoot infinity focus. I mean, at night it's difficult to focus, so usually they'll use infinity focus. Then the question was, why infinity focus and yet the foreground is still not sharp? You get my?
You're talking about Milky Way or talking of
it doesn't matter whether Milky Way or Moon. You know, when we set the lens to infinity focus, theoretically everything should be in focus, isn't it? And in astrophotography, somehow foreground always not in focus. I don't know whether you guys know. I'm sure you experienced that, but what was the logic behind? What was the reason behind?
Depth of field.
It's
just the depth of field. Yeah, it's the hyperfocal distance. There's something called the hyperfocal distance, which is the minimum distance the object has to be in focus if your lens is set to infinity. So as you reduce the aperture, make the aperture smaller, which is increase the aperture number, your hyperfocal distance gets closer slightly. Okay, but of course then you cut down the light. So that's why in one of the photo that I had the Milky Way and the firefly, I did what Mr. Goh said last, Milky Way, firefly, one shot blend in Photoshop. That's possibly now like the most popular approach. But if you're using a wide lens and you have a very far foreground, it's most likely not a problem at all. It truly depends on your composition. So yeah,
it's good. Thank you. What else questions there?
Robin Lee, super moon photo with small foreground is real. Not question. No more question.
Yeah, I think it's just mentioning that I think some are real, some are not. I mean, it really depends. Like Mr. Goh mentioned, I kind of agree, because most of the time, like even at 2 kilometer distance, you still cannot get the the hyperfocal distance. I remember for even and please don't quote me on this. I thought it was like 5 km for 500 mm, 5 or 6 km at the probably F7 even. I kind of searched it once. I have a 500 mm f7, the Canon lens. So yeah, I think it's almost 6 kilometers, something like that, 4 or 6 kilometers. So it is very hard actually to get. So you want to say that you want a sharp moon and a sharp foreground, everything has to be 6 kilometers away, beyond 6 kilometers away. Now you have to be 6 kilometers away from something, okay? And you have to just imagine it's so far away. You have to move so accurately so that the moon rises exactly behind that something, So it's actually a very, very difficult alignment. So like I mentioned in the chat, Mark Gee, who's a New Zealand astrophotographer, he actually did a time-lapse video of the moon rising behind this kind of mountain with people on it. It's crazy beautiful. You can search it on YouTube, I think. Yeah, spectacular. But he took a long time to plan it. I think he even has a video, the making of that video. And I think it took him months to plan. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, went many times, fail, and then finally, succeed.
Okay.
Can I go back to my slide? I show you two pictures. The moon with the back of the bungalow, right? And another one, the moon with the KL skyline. And you tell me, what do you see any different? Right, okay. Okay, can you see this picture? Hello? Can you see this picture now?
Not yet.
Not yet from me. Yeah. Not yet. Not yet.
Okay.
Yeah, I can see it now.
You can see, huh?
Yes.
Okay, you see the moon and also the Kuala Lumpur Twin Tower, right? Hello?
Yes,
Yep.
yes.
Okay. What is comment about the sharpness of the foreground, the Twin Tower and the moon? Do you consider that both of them are sharp enough, or one of them is clear, one not so clear?
I let Howard and Michael answer because I know the answer. From the astronomy standpoint, I have an answer.
I mean, at one lobe, the KLCC is actually very sharp, and the moon a little bit blur.
The moon a bit blur, right? Okay.
I mean, at one glance, yeah.
Okay. You see, you look at here, my focus, I was focusing on the Twin Tower, right? And because I was thinking, if I focus on the moon, I may get a sharp moon, right? But my blur, my not so clear Twin Tower make my picture become not interesting, right? Okay, so I rather focus on my Twin Tower, all right? And also the moon at that time also there are a lot of clouds, right? Because see, at that time when the moon just come out here, I cannot see the moon rising because they were full of cloud, right? Until almost towards the end, only cloud open a little bit for me to take this picture, and yet there's still cloud, right? So I think no matter how I do, I will never able to get a sharp moon because cloud was also a factor to play in this picture. Okay, now I show you the other, and this picture was taken at the spot where I was more than 7 km away from this KL tower. KL Twin Tower. I was taking from a spot more than 7 kilometers away. Okay. Now, what I'm going to show you now is another picture that I take of the moon with the foreground.
Mr. Goh, can I interrupt, please?
Yeah, please.
Is your rising time correct?
The what?
Is the time you took the photo correct?
Correct.
Is correct?
Yeah, before midnight.
Okay, was the moon because the full moon? Yeah.
Because when I arrived at this spot, it was about 10:30 p.m. right, and I could not see anything from my app, from my photo view app. The moon is rising up. Right?
No, it's okay.
Okay.
Which time of the year was it? Is it December?
No, it was a few months ago.
Few months ago.
Few months ago.
Okay, maybe I'll ask you more detail about the photo because I have some question about it. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Please go.
Okay. So the next one I'm going to show is I took a picture of the moon of coming behind the bungalow, which is about 2 to 3 km away from my balcony. And you have a look and see what is your comment. Okay. Now you see this? Hello?
Not yet.
You can see the moon?
Not yet.
Okay. Can you see now?
It's coming.
Can you see the moon with the bungalow?
Ah, yes.
Okay. So the distance from this bungalow to my balcony, it is about 2 over km, right? 2 over km. And you notice that even I try to take a sharp moon because I want to focus on the moon to try to get as much crater as I can, right? But you can see that the foreground, the bungalow, that's not able to get it sharp, right? Because my aperture is f8, my aperture f8. So what's the comment?
Derek, you can give some comment.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I suppose it's possible. I have not really tried this kind of moon alignment photos, to be honest. But you know, for this one is okay. For the other photo, I do have some questions because yeah, but I'll ask you offline because it's kind of technical. So I'll ask you outside. But yeah, if you stop down, certainly the hyperfocal distance increases. But I have to look it up, right? I mean, I don't have a hyperfocal computer in my head.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, it certainly is possible.
Okay. What about this one? What is the comment on this one?
Which one?
Robin was saying that a bit fake. Robin, are you there? Would you like to turn on your microphone? Yeah. Robin?
What's your focal length here, by the way? 500 millimeter?
No, I used 500 and I used 1.4 teleconverter.
Oh, wow, really?
And
okay.
And I know because I waited from 3:30 until finally it really go down here. It was about 7:35 already bright, right? And I know a lot of people see the picture say, go you Photoshop a picture like where the moon, because well, actually it is a true picture. There's no Photoshop. Photoshop cannot cannot beat the original.
Okay.
Okay, Robin is online now. Yes, Robin.
No, sorry, I'm using my phone to look at your pictures, so I can't really see what because the reason being is I can see some sort of like a houses on the foreground, and it looks like kind of white. But when you say you took this picture using the 500 mil plus the teleconverter, then I would say yeah, this is real. Because from my phone, it looks a bit like a wide angle to me, so that's why I said, well, it looks fake. But when you mentioned the 500 mil plus the teleconverter lens attached to the camera, then yeah, I said it's possible. Yeah, that's it for me.
Okay.
Thank you, Robin. Okay, guys, any other question? You know, then now it's 10:45 almost, which is no other question. Then I think we about to end the session. So let's turn on our camera. Just do a group photo. How will we arrange that?
Yes.
Okay. But yep, I'll take this opportunity to thank our two masters, Mr. Goh as well as Dr. Derek. Yeah. So thanks for joining us today. Yeah. Okay, guys. Let's turn on our camera and we just do a group photos and then end the session.
Yeah.